Hi folks, this is Pastor Sarah, and I have a kids' church message for upper elementary school kids for the month of May. This is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Our story for this month is the story of the Prodigal Son. This is a parable that Jesus tells. A parable is a story that Jesus made up, a story he imagined, but that helped people understand something new about God or about the way that God is in the world. And this parable has partners. This parable comes to us in the Bible with two other stories that are connected to it. One of those stories is the story of the Good Shepherd, who leaves the 99 sheep who are safe in the fold in order to find the one sheep who is lost. And then, when he brings that lost sheep home, he invites his friends over for a party. The second parable that's a partner is the parable of the woman who lost a coin. And she cleaned her whole house, lifted up all the furniture, looked under the rugs, until finally she found the coin that was lost. And she was so excited to find that coin that she threw a party with her neighbors. So I want you to listen in this last parable for the ways that it's connected to those two partner parables. The parable of the prodigal son is about a man who had two children, an older son and a younger son. The older son did everything his father asked. He was good at following the rules. The younger son did not like the rules at all and didn't really like living at his father's house and decided it was better to go somewhere else. He heard stories about amazing things he could do other places. So he asked his father for his inheritance. Now, his inheritance is the money that he would get after his father dies. But here he is asking for it while his father is still alive. It's almost like saying, "Dad, I wish you were dead so I could just get your money." It was really rude. But instead of being offended and angry, the father is very kind and says, "Okay." And he gives the son his inheritance. And that younger son takes that money and goes and travels to places where he has heard stories of amazing things he can do. But the problem is that all of those amazing things cost a lot of money. And he spends his whole inheritance like that. And then he doesn't have money to pay for a place to live. And he doesn't have money to buy food. And the only job he can find is a terrible job with a farmer who makes him sleep with the pigs. And while he is there with the pigs, wondering if he can eat the food that's given to the pigs because he can't buy food, he realizes that the people who worked on his father's farm, they lived a better life than he was living here with these pigs. He was pretty sure his dad was really angry because he had been so rude. And then he went and spent all that money and it was all gone. He wasted it. So he couldn't imagine that his dad would let him just come home and sleep in his bedroom again. But he thought, maybe I can get a job working for my dad because my dad treats his workers better than this farmer does. So he travels back home. Before he can even see his old house, he sees his father running down the street to him. And his father opens his arms and gives him a huge hug and says, "Oh, my son, I've missed you so much. I was so worried about you every day. I am so glad you've come home." And he takes his son to the house and they throw a huge party. Right as the party is getting started, the older brother comes in, washing his hands from having worked out in the farm. And he gets really angry because he has been at home doing the right thing, following all the rules, working with his dad every single day. And his dad never threw him a big party like that. It didn't seem fair that his brother, who threw all his money away and was mean to their father, that he gets a party. But the father comes and he says to his oldest son, "You've been here all along. You have known my love every single day. All of this amazing food that's a part of the party, all of this has been yours all along. But your brother was lost. He was lost to our family, and now he is home. And that's something worth celebrating." I wonder which of the characters in this story you connect with. Do you feel more like the younger son who gets frustrated and impatient and maybe makes bad choices? Or do you feel more like the older son who follows all the rules but then is frustrated when other people get attention, feel taken for granted? Or maybe you feel like the father, like you feel torn in two directions sometimes. And you want to love everybody, but it's hard to figure out how to love everybody when sometimes they're angry at each other. Did you notice the things that this story has in common with those other two partner parables? In each of the parables, there is someone who is lost, someone who finds what is lost, and a celebration. I wonder what that tells us about God and the way that God is at work in the world. One of the things that is special about this parable compared to those other partner parables is that older brother. The other two parables don't have the older brother character who is frustrated and feels like it's not fair that there's a party for the other brother. I wonder what that tells us. I wonder if there are things that God does in the world that don't always seem fair to us. I wonder what we do with that. I think that all of these parables, all three of them, show us that God is always excited to welcome back someone who has been lost, someone who has left a family or left a church, someone who's felt rejected, someone who's felt like they don't belong anywhere. That God is always welcoming the people who feel like they don't belong, making space and celebrating. And sometimes that doesn't feel fair. For the people who feel like they've been trying to follow God's path and do the things that might make God happy, sometimes it doesn't feel fair that God is really excited and celebrating all of those people who maybe made bad choices at some point in their lives, but really want to belong to God's family now. At our church, we work really hard to welcome everyone who wants to be a part of God's family. So I hope that even if there are times when we feel like that older brother, that we will figure out a way to join in on that celebration. Do you think the older brother figured it out and eventually joined into that party? I hope so. Because joining into a party is always so much better than sitting on the side grumpy because you think something's unfair. And I speak that from experience. I hope that you have a wonderful month of May. I hope that you enjoy the Pentecost festival packets that we'll be bringing to your house later this month. And I hope that you are able to get outside and enjoy the spring and celebrate some things with your family. It doesn't matter what, find a reason to celebrate. Have a little party. Take care.